Hey guys, Brad here. Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Channel, where we make your money work hard for you. So today I want to talk about home equity. What is home equity? And how can you actually access your home equity to invest? So let's get into that. What is home equity? So home equity is simply the value of your property minus the debt that you owe on the property, right? So value tends to be calculated for residential real estate based on what similar houses have sold for recently in your area, right? So one way to get the value is to go on Zillow or some of these other home buying sites and look at the estimate of what your house is worth based on recent sales in your neighborhood. Now, that value typically isn't going to be based on the condition, the particular condition of your property. So I'll talk about that again in a minute. And then you've got the debt, which is what you owe on your mortgage if you have a mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage, the value of your property is your equity. You own the property outright. All of the value is considered your equity. So that's equity. What your property is worth minus what you owe on it. Now, how do you access that equity? Say there's an investment you're looking at, right? And you don't have the cash in the bank to purchase that investment, but you do have equity in your home. So how do you access that equity if you want to use it for an investment? So one way is to go to the bank, go to the credit union, ask them, say you want to get a home equity line of credit, okay? Also known as a HELOC, home equity line of credit. So what is a home equity line of credit? Essentially, it's a revolving line of credit, right? It's really the same as a credit card. It's sitting there. You have access to that, whenever you want to use it, and you're not paying any interest on it unless you're actually using it. The difference with a credit card is that home equity line of credit is tied to your property. So your property acts as collateral for that home equity line of credit. If you don't pay, say you take out an amount of money on your home equity line of credit for some investment or whatever, you spend that money on something and you don't pay it back, the bank that issued that home equity line of credit actually has a lien on your property. So say you have a mortgage on your property, and then you get a home equity line of credit. If you don't pay that, the bank can come after your property. They can foreclose on your property to make sure that they get that money back. So I just want to walk through the process real quick of getting a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. So the first step, you're going to go to your bank or your credit union. Say you want a home equity line of credit. I actually just got off the phone today with my credit union, really asking them to walk me through the process of getting a home equity line of credit, so I know kind of the current practices for what the banks are offering. So when you request a HELOC, right? You request a HELOC. Here's what the bank is going to look at, okay? First, they're going to look at your credit score, okay? Typically, if you have a credit score above 740, right, 740, you're going to get the best possible interest rates on that home equity line of credit. And what that was from my credit union is around 5%, okay, interest rate. If you have above a 740, and then if you have below a 740, there's tiers that are going to help determine what the bank is going to charge you for interest. Okay, so credit score. Second one is your debts. What debts do you have outstanding? Say you have a mortgage. Do you have student loans? Do you have, credit card debt? What are your current debt obligations? And then the third thing, they're going to look at your income. What is your ability to pay off your debt obligations? If you have a hard time paying off your current debt obligations, they're not very likely to want to issue you a HELOC to give you even more debt obligations. That's obviously going to be riskier for them. So they're going to look at you. What is your current financial situation? They're also going to look at the property, right? They want to know, what is the property value? They're not going to go on Zillow and estimate the value of your property from that. They want to know what your estimated property value is in its current condition. So what they're going to do is they're going to have an appraiser come and appraise your property so that they have the most accurate current value of that property, right? So they're going to look at the property value, and they're going to look at the outstanding debt or the mortgage balance on the property to determine, what is your equity? What is your current equity in the property? Okay, so that's the first step that the bank's going to take. So once they know what your equity, have an accurate assessment of what your equity is, typically they're gonna give you a HELOC, right, for up to 80% of your current equity in the property. They don't want to go higher than 80% typically, because then it's just riskier for them, right? There's a higher chance of you not being able to pay that back. They want a little bit of a buffer there, a little safety factor. So up to 80%. The credit union I spoke with today won't go above $250,000. Okay, so say you have $500,000 in equity, right? Now, based on up to 80%, you should be able to get $400,000 in a HELOC, but the credit union, they won't do any more than $250,000. So that's something to find out. When you talk to the bank, talk to the credit union, what are these maximum figures that the bank will give you a HELOC for, based on the equity you have and just a raw number. So yeah, right, their interest rate was 5%. If you have top tier credit, which tends to be 740 plus, somewhere in the ballpark of that. Now also, I want to note this interest rate here. This is variable, right? This isn't fixed. Like your mortgage was probably fixed for 30 years. This is variable, okay? And it's tied to the prime rate. So if when the Fed increases interest rates for banks, that will increase the interest rate for your HELOC. So that's something to note. It is variable. Now the typical term for a HELOC is 10 years. Okay. It's like having a credit card where you're issued a credit card and they say, okay, you can use this credit card with a $20,000 credit limit for 10 years, and then you're going to have to reapply for the credit card. That's basically what that means. You have access to this HELOC for 10 years. So essentially it functions as a revolving line of credit, just like a credit card, but it is tied to your property. So the property is collateral for the HELOC. One last thing, you want to make sure you shop around, okay? Shop around, for the interest rate, what these limits are. Because here's the thing. Once you get into one of these HELOCs, the credit union I talk to, if I want to cancel my HELOC in the first 3 years, say I found a better home equity line of credit from another bank with, a higher, I can get more money, right? I can pull out more of my equity, maybe even at a lower interest rate. If I want to cancel this HELOC with this credit union within the first 3 years, they're going to charge me a prepayment penalty. My sense is that's pretty standard. So within the first 3 years, there's a prepayment penalty. And this credit union, the amount, it's $500. So if I want to get out of my HELOC and get in to another HELOC with better terms, they're going to charge me $500 to get out of that. So that's why it makes a lot of sense to really shop around before you get locked into one of these, especially one with a prepayment penalty. And also, as you're applying for these different HELOCs, as you're shopping around, not applying, as you're shopping around, make sure you have your information for them so they don't have to do a hard credit pull, which negatively impacts your credit score. So when you go, say, hey, I want to get pre-approved for a HELOC. Here's my credit score. Here are all my debt obligations. Here's my income. You can even pull a credit report and show them so that they can give you their best estimate of what you would get approved for without actually having to do a hard credit pull. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to introduce you to the concept of home equity and how you can invest it, how you can access the home equity when an investment pops up that you really want to jump on if you don't have other funds liquid ready to be deployed for that investment. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.